Welcome back to our channel. Today we are privileged to be joined by a special guest, Mr. Donovan Jurgens. Donovan, thank you very much for joining us. Can you tell us a bit about your journey in sport?
Thank you for having me, David. Sure, my journey in sport starts, I would say, way back in high school when I started playing sport. And then when I moved on to college, I became involved in the administration of sport at the Youth Sports Council. And since then, a journey of more than 40 years in various roles in sport started. Probably too much to cover in this short segue. But among some of the positions I filled, I served on the national executive of the South African Golf Union. Until recently, I was the president of South African Gymnastics, the National Sports Council, the National Sports Congress. At the moment, I serve on the Education and Culture Commission of SASCOC, South African Sports Olympic Committee. I was also one of the first commissioners in the South African Sports Commission. So a long history in sport, working in sport as a profession, as a volunteer, playing sport. Right now, I'm still the chairman of a golf club. So yeah, too much to mention.
Donnie, as the industry developed over many years, what are the different skills that students needed back then and what do they need now?
Yeah, if I think back over the years to myself as a young student and a young sports administrator, I think really strong administration skills, really strong planning skills stand out for me. In today's world, I think a good understanding of technology and how technology impacts on sport. And when I say technology, I mean very simple things like how to work an Excel spreadsheet, how does MS Word work, how does PowerPoint work, just understanding basic and simple software and how this can make your life easier. And then, of course, the buzzword, which I must admit I've started using myself, artificial intelligence. Without being guilty of any form of plagiarism, how can you use AI to manage sport better? So the modern student needs to have a totally different set of skills as to what I had. But in some of the old things, basic communication skills, verbal communication, written communication, relationship building are some of the skills that are still very relevant today in today's world.
Donnie, you've been on the journey with us developing the sports management program, both as a residential offering and now in our transition to the online offering. What has your role been in the course thus far?
Well, I've played various roles over the years. There was a time that you were on sabbatical and I convened the entire course, and that, of course, include setting up the examinations and really taking full charge of the logistics as well. So I've convener, and then, of course, I've focused on particular subject areas like sports for development, safeguarding, social entrepreneurship, and I've been lecturing on the course ever since. Yeah, so those have been the roles I've been playing in the face-to-face course.
And that was for about 6 years already.
That was between 6 and 8 years, yeah.
So, what do you think about the move to an online format?
Oh, I'm extremely excited about the move, and to be part of the move, I'm even more excited. I think we're going to make the course accessible to such a wider variety of students from all parts of the world. I'm involved currently with an 8-week program, and the real value of that program is different students from different countries engaging with each other and us learning from each other.
So, the new online course, can you tell us a bit about it?
Yeah, look, we are converting the face-to-face environment to an online environment. And over the last few months, we've been working on this, and it's been very exciting. So I think the students can expect a visually appealing course, something that's accessible. All the time we're working on this, we're putting ourselves in the place of the student, and we're putting ourselves in the place of different students in different parts of South Africa, different parts of the world. And we're looking at students with different experiences. And again, trying to put ourselves, students that's doing this shortly after their undergrad degree, and then even students that's already active in the industry. So students can look forward to very lively, interactive sessions every Thursday evening. We are going to have live synchronous sessions where they can meet with other students. We're going to divide them into workshops. They're going to deal with case studies, different kinds of scenarios. And it's going to be really exciting. We're going to look at things currently happening in sport. For me, this is more than an academic program. This is a program that's preparing students for the real live world of sports management. When students are done with this course, they can take their place fully in the sports management industry and make a difference. So yes, there's obviously going to be assessments and all the normal academic requirements, but this is going to be an exciting course and a practical course.
Since it's an online course, students can live wherever they are. Is there an expectation that they should be involved in sports where they are and then bring that into the classroom? And can they be actively engaged with using the material they learn in the classroom into their context?
Thank you. That's a good question. I mean, for us, the content will be very much related to the context they find themselves in. And in fact, we are making it a requirement that they do attach themselves to some or other sports context if they're not there already. And every step of the way, they should be able to apply the content to their real life scenario. So for example, if we deal with marketing, they will have an assessment in drawing up a marketing plan, and they will draw up the marketing plan relative to the context they find themselves in. I'll give another example. Strategic planning is something that many organizations don't actually do. During this course, we are going to teach the students how to facilitate strategic planning. And again, they will have an assessment that must be based on the context they find themselves in. And that example will apply to each and every module that we do, each and every of the 8 courses that we do. And I believe that you already spoke to the students about the research project and the special project. Those are all things that's going to add value to their role in sport. And let me also say, this will give them the tools to even start their own initiatives in sport. We are going to focus a lot on entrepreneurship in sport because the industry itself is not necessarily generating enough jobs, but there's ample opportunity for people to identify a challenge, identify a niche, and fill that niche through an initiative of their own.
So you're saying that the program is focused on being more than a paper exercise, more than just leaving with a degree, but leaving with real skills that you're able to apply while you are on the course and then afterwards as well.
Yeah, if I may say, I'm not an academic. I'm from practice. I'm from the industry. So certainly, from my perspective, we want to prepare students not necessarily only to get top marks in the assessments, but the focus is really to prepare them for industry. And we've been involved with industry. We understand a little bit about how it works. So obviously, it's going to be a good combination between the academic side, learning much, much more, but preparing them for the practical world of sports management.
Donovan, a question I should have asked earlier on. Will this course be accessible for all types of people, as in visually impaired, hearing impaired? So how will we accommodate?
Yeah, that's another great question. We just come from a workshop today where, again, this issue of inclusivity we raised. From our perspective, we want to make this course as inclusive as possible. So a combination of methods that we are going to use so that visually impaired students, hearing impaired students can have access to the course. So inclusivity is non-negotiable for us.
Will the students learn about global perspectives? Will the students be able to deal with continental issues, and will the students also be able to deal with local issues, as in the case studies that we will be dealing with? What will be the focus?
Yeah, we are focusing on the entire continuum, if I can call it that, starting from the club level. And we cannot underestimate the value of clubs in communities. And then working our way all the way up to the IOC, the Commonwealth Games, the students will really get a full grounding in all aspects of sports management.
Donnie, you were recently the president of Gymnastics South Africa. How would this course benefit students who want to engage in a federation and or businesses associated, for example, in gymnastics?
Yeah, when we looked at the outcomes for this course and we looked at various personas, we identified people serving in federations as quite a specific kind of student that we want to equip. So if you are serving in a federation, federations, for example, need resources. Small federations in particular need access to funding, to sponsorship, etc. They need access to planning, access to major event planning, and we definitely going to be focusing on preparing them for various roles. Over the 8 courses that we are doing, we are preparing them for their roles. So if we look at the special project, which I think is course number 8, typically a person serving in a federation would be looking at a project that's going to benefit that particular federation. And dare I say, the person coming out of the postgraduate diploma should even be able to assist other federations. So we may not be able to have 76 people from 76 federations, but the kind of student we are going to produce is someone that can play a role even at SASCOC level, and helping various federations.
You've been involved in sport globally at an international level. How do you see the content of the program assisting people who want to work at the global level?
Yeah, to just make an example, it's much easier for me to speak in the form of examples. I serve on the African Gymnastics Union's Sports for All Committee. I attend various international conferences. And it's really important to understand the international landscape. What is the role of the IOC, for example? And whenever I speak to people, they have a particular view of the IOC. People think that the Olympics is only about the Olympic Games, which happens every 4 years. Whereas Olympism and the Olympic Charter is much broader. There's very few students that would know, that's watching this video, that the IOC has a huge focus on the Sustainable Development Goals, which involves things like gender equality, reducing poverty in the world, etc. So we are going to expose students to the full role that sport can play in the world and in society. And I think some of these things students are going to find particularly interesting.
A student coming from elsewhere, because the course is obviously being presented by the University of Cape Town. If you're in a different continent or a different country, do you think the content would be relevant to them?
150%, if I can say that. And again, I spoke about accessibility earlier on. So this is one of the big reasons why we're moving this course to an online environment. So whether you are in Namibia, whether you are in Norway, you are going to be able to benefit from this course. But at the same time, and I've said this before, we also want the students to learn from each other. I myself want to learn from other students. I want to learn what is happening in Norway, what is happening in Saudi Arabia, what is happening in Dubai. And as I said, we're going to have our Thursday evening workshops where the students engage with each other. And so I think that international perspective from different students, from different countries and different continents, is going to add a particular richness to the course. In the face-to-face courses, we occasionally had 1 or 2 foreign students, and that already added a richness. Can you imagine if we have students from 4 or 5 different countries, different economic conditions, challenges in Nigeria, which are totally different from the challenges in Norway, but yet there's going to be an opportunity to learn from each other. Yeah. And I'm really excited about that.
One of the things that we've been working on as well is working closely with international NGOs and organizations that work in the sports for development field, for example, the Rio Ferdinand Foundation. The online course, this allows these NGOs to present a lot of their programs, in a format that wasn't accessible previously. Do you want to speak a bit about how the course or the program incorporates these international NGOs?
Yeah, for me, it's not only NGOs, but I mean, this format now, for example, allows us to bring a top quality speaker that we would never afford to come to Cape Town for a guest lecture. If I take somebody that works for the IOC in the Olympic 365 movement, a guy called Ollie Dudfield. Now we can record him, and he can do a guest lecture from the comfort of his office. If I take one of the NGOs, we intend to work with the Rio Ferdinand Foundation. Now we can have Rio Ferdinand speaking to the students directly. Even in our synchronous session, we can have a guest speaker from FIFA sitting in Switzerland, talking to the students live, engaging with the students, answering questions. So really the online environment opens us up to so many more possibilities, and we intend to utilize those possibilities to the best of our ability.
Donovan, thank you very much for sharing your excursion and your development as a sports administrator, literally from grassroots all the way to global level. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, David, and I'm really looking forward to this journey of developing this course, and I look forward to engaging with the students in future.
We look forward to sharing more with you in future episodes. Please like and subscribe. See you there.